Dolphins, Packers. So I got nervous real quick for all the old heads out there. I thought this was a Peacock game only at first. I was like, oh, crap, Peacock game only, brutal for some folks. It's not.
Yeah.
We got NBC.
Answering your grandpa asking, how do we watch the game? How do we watch the game? It's on Peacock, Papu.
And then they think you're a genius when you hook up the Peacock.
Oh, yeah.
And,
you know what you're doing, son.
They're like, dang, man, like, how much are you making these days?
Yeah.
Brother, if you knew. Anyhow.
If you only knew.
Dolphins, Packers -3, over under 47.5. Games at Lambeau. Dylan, does this game being at Lambeau and a game played in the 20-degree weather in Wisconsin hurt the Dolphins? Because we saw what happened at the Chiefs in the playoffs last year. I think a lot of people are going to pinpoint saying this is a soft, candy, whatever football team.
Candy, whatever. Yeah. You know how
candy
to
football
that.
team.
Yeah, candy football
can't play in the cold.
So I would normally agree with that. First counterpoint, it's going to be 35 and sunny. So it's about the 20s.
28.
I might want to check your weather app.
Where are we looking at? What weather app?
I don't even remember. I checked it this morning. It might have changed. Tua has actually already addressed this, and he said that that's the narrative or whatever. He can't wait to prove them wrong. So have you thought about the fact that Tua's already addressed this, and maybe it's not going to be as big of a deal as the media has made it out to be?
Well, that's also why I asked that question, because, I like the Dolphins in this spot.
Well, let me give you a pro Dolphins stat. I got pro Dolphins. I got pro Packers. Pro Dolphins. Tua, since returning on October 27th from his concussion, 5 games, almost 1,300 passing yards, nearly a 79% completion percentage, 11 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, over 0.35 EPA per play. How does that sound to you, Karter?
That sounds pretty good to me.
Sounds Pro Bowl quarterback right there.
What was that?
Pro Bowl?
Oh, Pro Bowl.
Pro Bowl.
Okay. Pro Bowl. Okay.
I heard Pro Bowl and Pro Bono.
I thought you were trying to make a joke or something. Okay.
Well, maybe you can cut that out. Yeah, sorry.
No, I didn't. Pro Packers. You want some Pro Packers?
Sure. You can pander a little bit, flip flop.
I'll pander a little bit. I'll give everybody the opportunity here. This isn't going to sound pro Packers at first. Jordan Love, one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL when blitzed. However, Miami only blitzes 20% of the time, and Miami is one of the worst teams in converting quarterback pressures to sacks. Only 15% of the time. It's the 3rd lowest pressure to sack rate in the NFL. Love has only taken a sack on 11% of pressures. That's the 6th lowest in the NFL. Now, here's what I'm looking at. Love throws down. I'm going to refer to deep passes. That's passes of 20-plus air yards. So Love throws downfield deep passes at the 2nd highest rate in the NFL. He's 17 for 43, 640 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The Dolphins have allowed the 6th highest completion percentage and the 3rd highest passer rating on deep passes. Now, this is where we get into the weeds. Who is the beneficiary in terms of wide receivers on the Packers roster of these deep passes? Jaden Reed, 8 for 9, 344 yards on deep passes. I think he'll be the main benefactor. But this is where we get a little fun. Nighttime Thanksgiving, I'm going to be at the in-laws. I'm going to have to ask to put this game on the TV.
Pretty please?
Pretty please. I'm going to have to be on my best behavior to get this. Christian Watson, over 33% of his targets are deep passes over 20 air yards. Where I'm going for this game, it's not a side, it's not a total. It's too volatile because of the deep passes. I'm thinking Christian Watson receptions under, receiving yards over parlay.
Ooh,
that's
get that negative correlation parlay.
Negative correlation boost. So that's where I'm going here, because when he is targeted, like I said, over 33% of his targets are on the deep ball, and that's where I'm going here. If I had to pick a side, I would lean Dolphins.
And I don't have the number, but I know his snap count's been going down the last few weeks. He has not been on the field a ton. He had that drop touchdown literally this past weekend. So I know he's not going to be on the field for 90% of the snaps like he was, start of the year.
Where are you going, Connor?
This is tough because Tua has been so much better since he came back.
Really good.
I lean Dolphins here. And that's scary to say because it's in Lambeau. Packers coming off a big, huge win against the 49ers. Huge. I lean Dolphins here. I like the over. 47.5. I think there's going to be some points scored in this game. I really do. I think it's going to be a tight one. I think it's going to be a great way to end Thanksgiving. I lean Dolphins to cover, and I like the over. That's the analysis.
Two things about this game as well when you look at it from a broader, looking forward for this. The Dolphins are only one spot out of the AFC playoff race. They're currently 8th in the AFC playoff race. This is not done and dusted at all. They've got
they're still playing.
They got the Broncos, Ravens, and Chargers ahead of them. They don't have much room for margin for error, but that means they're playing a little harder. And you look at the Packers, they're coming off a blowout win against the San Francisco 49ers. It was the Fox game of the week. But the issue is with the Packers is, can they go up much higher? The best they could probably finish is the 5 seed in the NFC.
They got the Lions next week.
Yeah. If the Lions win that week, they essentially clinch this division. It's basically over unless the Vikings somehow just keep putting together wins, which I don't know how that keeps happening, but it does. I like the Dolphins here. I think you're right, Connor. I'm not going to take the Dolphins, but points. It's points every which way. Everyone's going to overreact and be like, oh, it might be a little snowy. Oh, there's cold weather. Dylan, I checked it out. It is 28 degrees, and the high is 33 on Thanksgiving in Green Bay. It's going to be cold, but that's overrated. People look back on that Chiefs game last year with the Dolphins and think, oh, the Dolphins team, they can't play in the cold weather. No one could have played in that game. It was dangerous. It was like minus 50 degrees.
Beers were freezing over. You remember that?
Yes.
Beers were freezing out of their can.
Yes. So I love the over here. I feel like you can take any receiver in this game for anytime touchdown, fun prop. I think it's a great game. It's going to be a fun nighttime game. Give me the over. Ben, where are we going?
I like the Dolphins here as well. But I really like them. The one thing that gives me pause is playing at Lambeau with the weather being cold. But if there's precipitation, I might be a little more concerned, but sounds like there's not. Sounds like it'll be relatively clear. I do think this is a game in which the Dolphins win. And once they win, we go, oh, like they could sneak in the playoffs. Like this is a real thing that they can do. I also think like if you just look at the Packers, they've been skating by, but this isn't a team that's been playing great lately. They've got the big win, like the 28-point win against. Yeah, they could have lost to the Bears.
And they
lost the Lions. They beat Houston at home by 2, which seemed good at the time. That doesn't really age all that great either. A 3-point win against the Jags as well mixed in there. And then a massive win against the 49ers that had no Brock Purdy. That's a whole different thing, but the 49ers feel like they're on life support right now. But yeah, no, I like the Dolphins. I think the Packers have kind of played better than I think they really are to this stage. I like the Dolphins here. I think they get back in it.
And Tua is peaking at the right time. Since he came back from injury, 11-1 touchdown interception ratio. I know the defenses haven't been great, but I think it matters that he has been playing well and he's found a groove in this offense. The one thing I'm curious to see, Tyreek Hill has not had one of those signature games in a while. Since Tua's been back, Tyreek Hill has not been very involved. I think that could change against this Packers secondary. I think there could be a lot of Tyreek Hill this week.
I love it. Dylan, let me pose this question for you and we'll move on.
Okay.
Who's a faker team, the Packers or the Vikings?
Vikings, 100%.
Really?
Just because for me, it's the turnover margin. And I think the Vikings defense is very good. But I think this is really tough to say, but I would trust Jordan Love to take care of the ball more than Sam Darnold. The Sam Darnold's turnover issues, that's not a new thing. That was a thing at USC when he was there. And that's just ultimately what that comes down to. The Vikings defense is very good. You can't trust the defense to force 2 or 3 turnovers a game.
I would slightly trust the Vikings more, but I understand your reasoning there. I just think the Packers have been barely getting by in these games too. And on the show, we've been giving the Vikings a lot of crap for barely getting by and just barely winning games, but we necessarily haven't done it with the Packers as much. We just kind of give them a little more credit for some reason.
That's very true.
All right. I love it.
There's a world the Packers go 1-2 over the next 3 games. Dolphins, Lions, Seahawks. Not nothing.
Yeah, but I think they've solidified their playoff spot. The Commanders are in that weird spot where it's like, all right, they might be they might be missing the playoffs if we're going to be honest. But they have an easy schedule. But we're not talking about the Commanders right now.